We recently talked about how the world would be if Minecraft was real. Or, well, I guess if our world was combined with Minecraft. We would be extremely strong, but constantly in danger. We would be able to make insane advancements because of redstone, but risk the annihilation of the human race thanks to other dimensions that we know nothing about. But what else would this collision of worlds mean for not only the general population, but the actual world itself? That's what we're exploring today. Let's do it. So last part I talked about how strong we would all be thanks to Minecraft's inventory system. I talked about how the heaviest block in the game is Minecraft's gold block, since a 1 meter by 1 meter block of gold would weigh 19,300 kilograms, which is 42,549 pounds, and that was just one block. Multiply that by 36 stacks of 64 that Steve can carry, and Steve could easily hold 98,033,395.5 pounds, not including wearing any gold armor, which would only increase the weight. But then, even with the full inventory of gold blocks, Steve can still run at full speed, jump 1 meter into the air, and do everything that he could normally do, which is insane. And that's not even the max that he can carry, okay? That's before factoring in shulker boxes, which would result in us being able to carry 1,200,614,400 kilograms, or 2,648,901,666 pounds, or the equivalent of 16,543 fully furnished houses. And then multiple people in the comments brought up the idea that golden apples would in theory multiply that amount by 8, which I wanted to address. The idea that enchanted golden apples would equal 8 blocks of gold relies on the idea that they actually used to be craftable. Prior to Minecraft version 1.9, you could craft an enchanted golden apple by surrounding an apple with 8 gold blocks. This would also give you the at the time overpowered achievement. However, now they aren't craftable, which means that we can't really use them as a metric for how strong we would be, especially given that they're enchanted and magical apples. So the weight would seemingly be nullified by the fact that it's magical and enchanted and an apple. However, there is one thing that we can actually compare to our strength as of Minecraft 1.16, and that's the netherite blocks. Since each netherite ingot requires 4 gold ingots as well as 4 netherite scraps, we can essentially multiply this metric by 4. We have no way of knowing how heavy or dense netherite scrap would be, nor do we have any reasonable equivalent in our world, but by just multiplying this by 4, we would be able to carry, using a full inventory of shulker boxes filled with netherite blocks, a whopping 4,802,455,600 kilograms, or 10,585,606,664 pounds, which is equal to 66,172 fully furnished houses, or the weight of my ego, which is honestly something that I can't even fathom at this point. If every person in the world worked together, we would in theory be just 48 people shy of lifting the earth. Or at least I think that's how the math works out. It was either that or just 48 kilograms shy of lifting the earth, which would mean just one person away. Assuming that we had somewhere to stand as we were trying to lift the earth, and all the assumptions that we would normally have to make moving the earth possible, we'd have to do that, but also, yeah, either 48 people or 48 kilograms shy of lifting the earth, which is nuts. It's also worth noting that we wouldn't have our knowledge of Minecraft in this version of Earth, since, well, Minecraft wouldn't be a game, it would be real life. And nobody plays real life simulator games to actually do things that you would do in normal life. So Minecraft would definitely not be a game, meaning that it would take us ages to even consider thinking about mob or resource farms, and it would take a load of ingenuity to figure out how they actually work or even come up with the concept for one. We also have to pick and choose the mechanics that would actually work properly and which ones we would have to eliminate for the sake of translating this into real life. For example, the mob spawning mechanics, where they cannot spawn within 25 meters of a player, would have to be considered. I mean, it would be beneficial to have this rule, however, would it really make sense? If we're running with monsters spawn in the darkness, we may be able to keep this rule, but it would require some adapting, like in our society adapting to that. For example, no corner of your house could be further than 25 meters from any other point in your house. Otherwise, you'd risk falling asleep and then waking up to a creeper in your living room. We could modify these rules though, possibly by saying that we could consecrate ground around a house to prevent monsters from spawning inside of it, but that's not a normal Minecraft mechanic, and therefore we should probably ignore that and shouldn't like actually postulate it. We could possibly though all move to various mushroom biomes if we had those. However, the spawning mechanics for those are confusing, especially when trying to place this on our Earth instead of an infinitely generating world. We would have to have, you know, enough area for literally everyone on Earth. Or, I guess not like an infinitely generating world, one that has a border 3 million blocks in any given direction. Another biome that doesn't allow mobs to spawn naturally, however, like how the mushroom biome doesn't, which is why I suggested, has recently been added. The deep dark biomes that contain skulk blocks and shriekers actually prevent mobs from generating naturally within them, probably to make the warden an actual threat, because, you know, if there's other mobs running around, he's just gonna go for those. But building down in the skulk would be kind of ridiculous, right? I mean, why would we try to do that? Oh wait, in Minecraft, they already have. They've done that thanks to the ancient city structures that we can see typically generating under mountain biomes. Now, we still aren't entirely sure how this really happened. It's possible that these cities were here and then the skulk invaded, or vice versa. However, one thing that remains consistent is that there were people who were living amongst the skulk blocks. So, could we do the same? It would definitely be difficult. I mean, the warden is the strongest mob in the game, being able to take on multiple withers in both versions. But if we tried to live in the skulk, could we as humans? I mean, I think so. Because, like, the thing is that wardens are summoned by skulk shriekers. These are dotted around the various skulk sections in the deep dark biomes, but you are able to destroy them. You can harvest them with Silk Touch, but if you don't use that, they just get destroyed. And the key to actually being able to live in a skulk biome would be destroying all these skulk shriekers. And as long as we brought wool with us, it wouldn't really end up being that big of a problem, since placing wool doesn't activate any of the skulk sensors or shriekers, and we could easily block one of them off before destroying it so that it doesn't send any signals to other ones. We do that enough times and we wouldn't really have to worry about the warden at all. I mean, it would take a little time to figure that out, and most likely a fair few lives and warden summons, but it would be a solution to dealing with the monsters every night, since everyone would have to be asleep to end up preventing them from spawning, because that's just how sleeping works on servers. One person with insomnia and there's a creeper in your house, alright, just saying. There is one question that I also saw multiple times on the last part. It's the simple question of, if monsters would be such a big problem, why not just use guns to wipe them out? And while I do understand that, since I said that we would have our current technology, I was speaking more so about how the general population would be able to handle monsters, because let's be honest, okay, equipping every single person with a gun in order to worry about monsters isn't really going to end well. Ironically enough, we would become the monsters at that point, and yes, that was meant to be poetic. Most of the people asking this, I'm guessing, are from the United States, since while only containing 5% of the world's population, contains 46% of the world's civilian-owned guns, and I mean, I'm sure we all know how that's going for them. Whether you are for or against gun control, I think you can understand how arming everyone in the world with a gun so that they can take out monsters wouldn't be a good idea. Okay, one thing moves in the shadows and you're freaking out, thinking that it might be a creeper, but instead it was just your creepy neighbor. And while giving people swords wouldn't really be much better, at the very least, they're easier to defend against than a 102-mile-per-hour chunk of metal flying at your face. Okay, and swords require much more training than something that in this case would mostly just be point and shoot, especially for a monster, especially for a giant frickin' spider. And considering how guns aren't in Minecraft, we can't even really begin to understand how these mobs would handle gunfire. It may not affect them at all. I mean, I doubt it, but it is possible. They may be made in like a similar way to Kevlar or other bullet resistant or bulletproof materials, because we can't exactly be sure. So perhaps a sharp sword to the abdomen or a sharpened arrow to the chest would be the only way to actually handle these creatures. And while yes, we are extremely strong, it's worth remembering that a fall of 7 meters would kill us instantly, and so would a creeper explosion. Yeah, that's right, we would still have to deal with creeper explosions in this world. Imagine how fun that world would end up being. Yeah, imagine airports. They would have to somehow spawn-proof entirely, or have like cats just chilling literally everywhere. But I don't know, maybe I can like discuss how the world could handle monsters if you guys end up wanting a third part to this. This was mostly clearing up and addressing some of the newer additions to the game, but I do love this kind of thought process of translating Minecraft into real life, so I'm happy to do it again if you want. That's all the time we have for today though, friends. Thank you all so much for watching. I have been Inshallah Connor Monroe, and I'll see you in another video.